Imperfections are not all bad as they give room for courage, compassion, and connection. The trouble with imperfections is that you mostly feel fear, shame, and unworthiness, and it takes a lot to feel otherwise. But once you accept your imperfect state, you open up a door for courage, compassion, and connection to work their magic. The author singles out these three things as the gifts of imperfection, as they are what will make the walk through life's imperfections perfect. Courage is now popularly believed to mean the driving force for heroics, but in its earlier definition, courage is to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Thus, courage is putting your heart out there and risking discrimination or mockery. And no, this doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. That's true heroism. Compassion describes the ability to feel someone else's pain and recognize that they equal and you understand what they're going through. It doesn't come naturally to us, as we'd rather save ourselves before we stick out our necks for someone else. To be truly compassionate, you must first accept your own struggles, only then can you have empathy for the next person's. The key to compassion is setting boundaries and holding people accountable. The connection is defined by the author as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. As humans, we're designed to yearn connection, but it isn't without its perils. We have so many pseudo-versions of connection courtesy of technology, we confuse online for realness. Some of us turn down the connection because we judge ourselves as weak for needing it. These three tools take practice, lots of it. To fully commit to courage, compassion, and the connection is to look at life and the people around us, and say, I'm all in. Being authentic is not a walk in the park. Opening up your true self to the world takes a lot of courage and bravery. It is often thought that authenticity is simply an attribute a person either had or didn't. You'd hear people say Mike is a really authentic guy. But the author argues that authenticity is, in fact, a learned habit, something requiring practice. It is a choice to let your true self be seen, a choice to be vulnerable, a choice to be honest. The author defined authenticity to be the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. To be authentic takes a lot of courage to be open and vulnerable, compassion to accept your flaws, and the nurturing of a connection without fears of feeling inadequate. And of course, it takes a lot of intentional loving of yourself and others, especially when you're struggling. This is how you invite long-lasting happiness, contentment, and love, yes, more love, into our lives. In the world we live in today, staying real or authentic is even harder because of the increasing pressure to conform to the status quo. So if you choose to be authentic, you must be willing to stick to it and weather the storms and fight some battles that come with your newfound change. Compassion is a necessary human emotion, but we often forget to show compassion to ourselves. At our various endeavors, we try our best to be always at peak performance, perfection. And the sad truth is that we can't be perfect, and there should be absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that's easier said than done. The strive for perfection has eaten so deep into our beings that we bully ourselves when we do anything but perfect. Perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. But this is really a weight holding us back from reaching our true potential. This desire to keep shame and judgment away only keeps us in a perpetual slavery to seeking the approval of others. Being perfect isn't about self, not really, it is about how people see you, getting them to accept you. And until they accept you or your work as perfect, you'll forever feel worthless. This is where self-compassion comes in. When you accept that you're not perfect and stop trying to conform to society's standards, you can actually do your best and get satisfaction. A resilient spirit is difficult to build in a world with so much influencing factors, but it is important to stand strong. In a world where you face different, unending, unrelenting battles, a strong spirit is a priceless weapon in your armory. The author conducted extensive research in which she interviewed individuals who have overcome tough and trying situations, and it helped her form one conclusion: the center of their success was a strong sense of spirituality. Every single person testified to hooking up to a greater power to help them through these periods of hardships. This had elements of religion and faith, but spirituality goes beyond that. The author defines spirituality as recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Practicing spirituality brings a sense of perspective, meaning, and purpose in our lives. And as such, we cultivate hope as a motivation for a positive future, and this mentality empowers us to make it through another day. People should be courageous and compassionate enough to seek the spiritual connection it requires to form a steady support system. A lot of the time we cannot find what to be grateful for or what to be happy about, but joy and gratitude are things that are cultivated, not things that just happen. Gratitude is the consciousness that lets you feel content with whatever you currently have or are. This is the acknowledgement that although certain things might be going wrong, there are the ones that are going great, and for that you are grateful. Now, this is quite difficult considering, and people often write gratitude off as a trait you either born with or not. But this is far from the truth. It takes practice, a willful and consistent commitment to a change in your mindset. The author believes gratitude and joy are somewhat interwoven in that gratitude is rewarded with joy. Joy is a step beyond happiness. Happiness is a sort of atmosphere you can live in sometimes when you're lucky. Joy is a light that fills you with hope and faith and love. People often confuse joy with happiness, but whilst the former is a feeling untethered to circumstances and stems from gratitude, the latter is a temporary feeling based on situations or material gains. When you catch a big break, come into a good sum of money, you feel happy, and when it finishes, you feel sad. But the thing with joy is that it can come even when you have nothing to be happy about. There are things we encounter that threaten to steal our joy, like fear of loss and scarcity. These things are based on reality and as such is harder to see any other outcome. Brené Brown believes that as a people, we need both happiness and joy for moments when we get cause to feel happy and when there's none. We are not sure about many things, but it is important to focus on building trust in your intuition, and faith in yourself. As we know, a lot about life is uncertain, and daily we seek assurances before taking risks, making decisions, and effectively before even living. This is where cultivating intuition and faith can go a long way to improve our grip on our day-to-day lives. Brené, after extensive research, defined intuition as a single way of knowing. It's our ability to hold space for uncertainty and our willingness to trust the many ways we've developed knowledge and insight, including instinct, experience, faith, and reason. It is that voice in your head that subtly guides your decisions by first using instinct to choose a path and then weighs the facts before arriving at a decision. The speed with which it seems we form intuitive decision is why it is often thought to lack any facts or deep thought, shooting from the hip, but in fact, it requires a lot of fact-checking and considering. It takes facts you already know as a basis for its process, and if there is a lack of facts, it pushes you to find more that support this decision. If you can't or don't find, it still makes a decision. Faith has a ton of definitions, with majority belonging to a belief or faith, and it is a common opinion that faith is something based on religion or a belief system. It is also believed that to have faith is to denounce reason and logic. Brené Brown chose one that really spoke to her during her many sessions with people who are firm believers of faith. They believed that faith is a place of mystery, where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. Faith and intuition are very essential in the quest for living a wholehearted life. You need to first trust your guts, and believe in what isn't as if it was. These are the tools you need to face life's uncertainties head-on and assured. Creativity is the greatest form of self-expression, and as such, it is a necessary part to cultivate. Life forces us to conform to laid down societal norms, to act a certain way, think a certain way, or work a certain job. This, in turn, breeds comparison, because when a group of things is alike thanks to conformity, there arises the need to compare to know which is better among the lot. This is a very dangerous atmosphere for creativity, since creativity is built on the basis of non-conformity. Conformity says loudly, fit in with the crowd, whilst creativity can only whisper, there's a stray butterfly, you should definitely chase after it. Creativity gives you the room to be unique, to show forth your true strengths and talents instead of just trying to fill in the shoes of the people who were before you. We must also actively practice creativity to avoid living the life of a faceless drone and stand out. It can be a scary thing to fight against the tide of what's normal and ride your own wave, but it will be worth it in the end. When you hear the word play, we immediately imagine slacking off or wasting valuable time to do meaningful things. But the author believes that play is very essential to us as humans. We are actually biologically designed to crave play. We are, at our cores, playful beings. We spend most of our time on work, claiming that it is what deserves our dedication or else we'll live lives of worth. What is a play? According to the author, play is that activity that has literally no purpose but for your body to unwind and just do. And it will interest to know that play and rest are related. This isn't a hoax, it is an actual scientific fact. The human body registers the need to play the same as the need for rest. Your body gives you cues to take a break, to let loose, take some time from that demanding job, life and just play or rest, whichever one it tells you, you need to listen and just do it. It is important to learn how to be still and calm. Anxiety is the enemy of all your self-growth. Anxiety is the enemy, it literally tries to make your life harder, daily. You're faced with bills, relationships and just about everything the world has to offer to feed your anxiety. It's a battle, and you might be losing. Here's how to win. The author urges that practicing calmness is the first step to overcoming anxiety. Often when we hear the words calm down, we suddenly lose it, freak out. This is because we associate calmness with a struggle to hurriedly bring the raging storm in our heads to a sudden stop. But the practice of calmness isn't so. It involves a slow but steady commitment to breathing, generating positive thoughts and bringing your body and mind to a calm state. You hear stillness and imagine that the definition of calmness quite covers it, but that's a horrible misconception. Stillness is not about focusing on nothingness, it's about creating a clearing. It's opening up an emotionally clutter-free space and allowing ourselves to feel and think and dream and question. You don't have to empty your mind in a hurry and think happy thoughts. No, stillness comes with accepting your mess and working through it and setting your mind right calmly. The powerful combination of practicing calmness and stillness is just what we need to keep anxiety out so much that it loses its grip on our lives. It is important to busy yourself with good work that gives you a sense of accomplishment. What do you consider to be meaningful work? You're probably thinking of a big office, nice rotating chair, and a fat paycheck, and of course, you won't be wrong according to the popular idea of what should give your life meaning. But what defines a life of meaning is doing that thing that brings you ultimate fulfillment alongside the freedom to still live a constraint-free life. Simply working enough jobs to get the bills paid isn't going to give your life meaning. Seek out that passion you have and feed it. In the words of Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. We are created with gifts and talents peculiar to you, and although you might ignore them because they're not readily lucrative, but when you develop them, you'll find it covers both your money needs and needs to live a meaningful life. The author writes that to create a life of meaning is to discard what is expected of you and simply do what makes you feel just a little bit better. There's mostly a norm with tagging people with their jobs or accomplishment. They believe this is meaning, and as such, multitudes seek validation in working unfulfilling jobs whilst stifling their creative gifts and end up living empty lives. Learn to laugh, sing, and dance. More often these exercises are a natural way to induce happiness. Brené Brown brings all the guideposts into a fitting culmination in laughter, song, and dance. She identifies these as a much deeper exercise and part of human existence. Laughter is defined as a bubbly, effervescent form of holiness. It is our way of communicating that we share in the next person's joy and we understand it. Song or music gives us that extra, surreal connection to the universe. It is the color of reality. Without music, a lot would be plain and dull. Dance is our body's manifestation of our mind's perception of rhythm. Regardless of how you dance, random epileptic or step-up star, our brains are wired to respond to rhythm with movement. Don't fight it, get up and move it. A good belly laugh, singing at the top of your lungs, and dancing like no one is looking are unquestionably good for the soul. Expressions like laughter, song and dance, these acts that put our inner essence out on display are so powerful because when we are caught in a hearty laugh, singing out loud or dancing out of tune, these are the moments when we are truly ourselves. Conclusion. The journey to embracing who you truly are is not a short or easy one. It will be tough, but be assured that you have within you the courage, compassion and the right connection to get your life to ascend into a more wholehearted realm. Try this, cultivate the 10 guideposts and try to implement them in your life, family, and workplace.